Hi everyone, Matt Greco here from the Rye Room recording studio, coming to you from a quarantined Portland, Oregon. And today I am going to share with you some of my favorite methods for mixing pop vocals. Let's get started. I have here a tune by an artist named Niamh. She is someone that I worked with about like a year. I think I did this track like about a year ago, year and a half. I don't know. I can't quite remember. But it is out. It's called Love Bug Teens. You can stream it on all the platforms and download it and that whatnot. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's awesome. It's kind of this down-tempo pop electronic tune, and she brought me the demo, and I dug it, and we kind of popped it out. So we are today going to talk about vocals and how I mix vocals. Primarily how I mix vocals with pop stuff. I do tend to mix vocals a little differently with like folk Americana tracks or rock tracks or whatever. But with pop, it's definitely a specific thing that I do that's a little bit different for the pop stuff. So we're going to talk about that today. And let's dive into it here. So I've got the Pro Tools session open. I have, you can see here, I've got 3 kind of vocal tracks going. These, basically from here down to here is normally hidden when I'm mixing. This lead vox print track that you can see here is my actual like last kind of processed track that vocal track that I'm using as far as my lead vocal. That is what I'm mixing with. So this other stuff I have open just to kind of show you the process. So starting from the beginning, this track up here, I'm going to unmute it. This track is our comp track. This is what we had right after we had tracked the vocal. We comped kind of the best takes together, and this is what we ended up with. So this track, as you can kind of see here, I'm going to zoom in. This track is obviously a comp track with the different colors here in Pro Tools. I have gone in and cleaned everything up as far as taking like, the dead space out and kind of unneeded breaths and that kind of stuff. So that's the first process. Comp, get that stuff taken out of the way, cleaned up. From that point, then what I usually do is, let's see, I've got Pro Q here. This is just doing a little bit of taking out some low end. This vocal was tracked through my Fleet 12, I think into my Shadow Hills mic pre, and then likely hitting my Retro 176. I don't think I had any EQ going in on the vocal. I might have had a little bit of like low cut on my Rupert Neve Designs 551, but I don't think I had any other EQ outside of that. So a little bit of just high passing there. And then Melodyne is the next step. This goes in here, and I do my vocal editing here. I'm not going to go too deep into Melodyne, but it's for me part of the process of kind of cleaning and fine tuning and that kind of stuff. I do some de-essing and some breath work and that kind of stuff as far as like taking that stuff out in Melodyne. I also will do it here as well with clip gain and that kind of stuff, but I primarily do a lot of that actually in Melodyne. So let me actually just play you the finished vocal in the track here. Let's play the verse.
Steady dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour. What the hell, smoke a cig, cause the look is pretty. Velvet skirts, checkered shirts, why can't we throw it all away?
Okay, so that is the kind of finished vocal in the track there. So starting here, I'm going to solo this. This is the raw vocal no processing outside of the processing that I had done when we had tracked the vocal. Sounds like this.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour. What the hell, smoke?
Okay, so sounds pretty good. I was pretty happy with how we had tracked it and everything. So then moving on from that point, once I do my kind of fine tuning and editing and stuff within Melodyne, then I print that track. And then that track essentially goes away. We'll hide and make that inactive. That track is now this track, which on this track, I do a little bit of kind of final processing on. This is mostly extra cleaning stuff. So Pro DS, Pro Q, looks like I have a little bit of... I have a little bit of just kind of dipping there at like 718 and then again at like 2K, so not much. Looks like I had another little issue at like 8K I wanted to take out with the Precision GSer from Universal Audio. And then at this point, I think I also for sure, I probably did this actually prior. I don't see the plugin, so I probably did it within the app. But I also probably used, because I use it all the time, RX mouth declick. And I sometimes will just do it in this standalone program. I have RX6 right now. So yeah, I probably did the mouth declick within that program and then re-imported it, whatever. So just to let you know that was going on. That just kind of gets rid of all the little mouth clicks and that kind of stuff. So then at this point, I have all these buses going. These buses are going into all of these tracks, this is something that I'm pretty much only doing with my pop stuff. So here, as you can see, I have 1176, CL1B. These are just all plugins. The Reve from Universal Audio, LA2A, Zener, Distressor, Fairchild, Very Mew, Manly, and then this UBK1, which I love from Kush Audio. So these guys, I basically have all these set to their kind of like sweet spots as far as what I like these compressors doing. It's all different like attack and release settings, ratio, thresholds, all that kind of stuff is kind of dialed in for each compressor. And what I do is I send the vocal out at Unity into all of these compressors. This is not a like super, I did not come up with this technique. This is a Michael Brower thing, and I've kind of adopted it and sort of adapted it into my workflow and kind of how I like to do things a little bit. And I sometimes will switch out these compressors and use different ones. If I didn't track it, a lot of times I have a hardware Retro 176 here, so I will sometimes go into that. It just kind of depends. Depends on, what I'm doing. So, and what the vocal needs. And this, I love this compression technique. It's kind of parallel-y compression, vibe, but kind of its own thing. And then what I do is I run all these into these guys, make sure that honestly, nothing is really ever hitting, I would say more on these compressors, more than like 3 or 5 dB on peaks. And then what I do is, as you can see, all these mix levels, let's go over to my mix window here. As you can see, all these mix levels are different. And this honestly it's like a color thing for me. I get the vocal sounding a certain way, color wise with these faders by turning things up. So like I kind of know this 1176A from Universal Audio is, it's a little brighter. It's a little more mid-forward. This is honestly one of my like favorite vocal compressors. I love this thing. And the majority of the time I am using this quite a bit, but sometimes a track just doesn't really, it needs something that's a little softer and maybe a little slower and that kind of thing, not quite as like aggressive. So then this compressor might not be the thing. Maybe the TubeTech, CL1B might be more the vibe for that kind of track. So I kind of dial this in mix-wise how I want it. And then from there, that gets printed to this Leadvox print track, which, so here, I'll play you this track so you can hear this guy first.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour.
Okay, so there's that guy. And then here is this guy. Let me run this just to the mix bus as well. I have no effects on that.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs.
I guess I have some effects there.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour. What the hell, smokers?
Okay, and back to this guy.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on
So
the
as you could probably tell there, a little bit of a difference tonally. There's going to be a much bigger difference with just in general how it's sitting in the track. And let's take this guy out now. So that is how I get to this track. And then at this point, now I'm just kind of mixing. So let's run this back to my Leadvox sub here. This has all of my effects on it. And this guy soloed sounds like this.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour. What the hell, smoke a cig, 'cause...
And then in the track sounds like this.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour. What the hell, smoke a cig, 'cause the look is pretty. Velvet skirts, checkered shirts, why can't we throw it all away?
Yeah, cool. So I have basically at this point on the sub, I don't really have much. I literally have a Pultec doing a little bit at 5K. That's it. This vocal sounds really great to me. This was probably like a last minute decision of like, oh, I just need it like a little bit brighter and, you know, a little bit more at 5K is what kind of felt good to me. So I also have these are my kind of default buses that are in my mix template that show up going to reverb sends, delay sends. I have like a doubler thing set up, this Vox Slam, which is 1176, just Bomb Factory standard. And then I usually am dipping out a little bit of like low mid thing with that because it's kind of got a lot of that. And then looks like I put a de-esser on this, which that's not in my mix template, but that I probably did that because I felt like I needed it. I think this vocal ended up, my C12, it ended up being like a little bit brighter, so I think I did a little bit more de-essing than I normally would, but and then I ended up putting on some other effects. This was like a vocal distortion thing that I have here, which is just Decapitator. I have it super low, but it's just kind of adding a little bit of grit there.
Static dreams, driving Cadillacs, burning tires, leaving tracks on the road too many miles per hour. What the hell, smoke a cig, 'cause the look is pretty. Velvet skirts, checkered shirts, why can't we throw it?
That's cool. I dig that. That was a decision that I think I kind of made a little bit like towards the end too. When I was mixing the vocal, I felt like it just needed like a little bit of grit to it or something. This air verb, I sometimes will use in a chorus or a verse or whatever. That is living down here. And that is Sound Toys, their Echo Boy Jr. with a really fast, looks like 1/32 there, delay. Going into Vintage Verb from Valhalla, which I love, smooth plate, 0.8 seconds there, and then I have dipping out a ton of mid-range. It's like 700 hertz there with a Pro Q. And it's kind of just this really nice, airy, like longer, 2-second reverb there, which is cool. It's kind of stereo widthy with the delay and stuff, and I sometimes use it, sometimes don't. And then let's see, my main. I usually have one, my EMT 140, which sometimes this reverb I'll switch out, but this is just my main kind of plate that I'll use a lot of times, which I love. Some EQ after that, just taking off some top end there. And a lot of my other effects, I'm not going to go too much into these, but they're all pretty standard, and I just kind of will use them, don't really tend to switch them out too often unless I feel like I need like a different room or a different delay or that kind of thing. So that is that. And then this bus goes straight to my mix bus. And as you can see, I had some volume automation here on the bus for kind of choruses and verses and that kind of thing. But outside of that, I'm not really doing a crazy amount. It's, cut the vocal well. I am super lucky to have really awesome mics here and, great mic pre's and great compressors and EQs and that kind of stuff that I use going in. So I really try to capture the vocal as well as I can going in. And then outside of that, a little bit of processing and, kind of fine tuning, and preferably it shouldn't really need a whole lot if it's tracked well. So that's it. Out to my mix bus, and then here we have all the backgrounds and BGs and that kind of stuff. And let me get you into the chorus so you can hear the chorus a little bit.
Of a damaged town, 'cause we're all just love bug teens and lust-bitten children. We're all just drugged up kids who want the attention. Yeah, we're all just love bug teens and lust-bitten children. We're all just drugged up kids who want the attention.
Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And for more videos like these, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And to keep up with the Rye Room, you can follow us on Instagram at the Rye Room. Be well, friends.